Okay, welcome back students, and I want to show you a more academic kind of source that you might encounter in the library, and also somebody who may be a little less well known, and that's Winston Churchill. Some of my students have him as a great communicator. Again, I want you to see that at the top I've already done my one search research, and I've hit enter, and Winston Churchill comes up at the top. It is available in PDF. You can see that Vital Speeches, this is a fairly recent publication. It's 5 years old. We're not in the sciences, so that's pretty new. And I'm going to go ahead and click on the PDF full text of this resource. Now, if Winston Churchill is yours, you have to plug in the type of researcher or the type of orator he was. That's what he was as a communicator. He's known as a great orator. He gave a lot of political speeches, and we want to know more about him. So apparently there was a man who was behind Winston Churchill, whose name was William Bork Cochrane. Now, at first this may seem like, wow, this is too much information. I only have 5 to 7 minutes to make my presentation. Is this guy relevant to me? I'd give it a chance. That's all I would say. First, I would give this a chance. I would read this article. You will find there's a lot of biographical information, and you will find that Churchill actually was greatly influenced by William Bork Cochrane, who was an Irish-American statesman. That is relevant to me. You could do your whole speech about Winston Churchill and how he became a great orator, focusing specifically on the process that he went through. I would read this entire article, mostly because it's not that long. I could get through it. It would be very informative, and it was. I read the whole thing. Things that struck me as really important in this article are that he learned the art of making a speech from this elder statesman who was a friend of his mother's. You'll also notice that he was first introduced to major news events and the President of the United States. He goes back to before World War I. There's all kinds of information here that could be relevant. Then you have to ask yourself, okay, so how do I now contextualize this? I have information about him. The strategies he used for creating a great speech. One, he really knew what his topic was and what his message was supposed to be. So, like the rhetorical triangle, he had a clear topic, audience, purpose. He had a kind of presentation method that he gave. He was very attuned to language, so I would go immediately to my textbook and see what the language chapter had to offer. He also was someone who gave speeches in live settings and on the radio. So I would take some of the information from this, and I would go to the index at the back of your textbook, and I would look at speech making, right? And I would see what applied in this particular chapter to Winston Churchill. You want that synthesis piece where you take information that you learned from a good source, and then you contextualize it with information from your textbook. So truly language, and then in the back of the book, a chapter you've not been assigned to read, but I would expect you to go find on your own. And I think you then have a great place to begin. Who was Winston Churchill? What are the 3 main things that are important to them, and how are those 3 main things connected? And start gathering your research. One more thing is make sure that you cite your source, right? So over here, you'll notice that you can simply click on citing the source, keep track of it by scrolling down to MLA style and making sure that you collect this information. So once you have gathered some outside research, you've determined a focus. How are you going to approach this great communicator? How will an outside source help you? How will your text help you? Now it's time to turn your attention to some YouTube videos of your great communicator doing what they do best, and apply some of this on your own. So you've done the research, you have found a direction, you have contextualized, you have cited your sources, you've found 3 main points, you've connected them. Okay, my 6 minutes is up, and it is time to move on.